Welcome to The Explainer. Every single day, we're practically bombarded with the hype of the artificial intelligence sprint. We constantly hear about a brand new model, a wildly faster chip, some sudden, game-changing breakthrough. But to truly grasp what's actually happening on the world stage, we need to step back and objectively examine the global marathon of AI strategy. Today, we're pulling from the latest geopolitical reports, declassified policy translations, and hard economic data to see how nations are really positioning themselves for the long haul.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a 5-part roadmap for today. The Global AI Pentathlon, China's Strategic Master Plan, the Open Weight Strategy, the Transatlantic Calculus, and finally, winning the long game.
So Part 1, the Global AI Pentathlon.
To really understand what's unfolding, we need to completely reframe how we think about this competition. Let me pose this question directly to you. Is the global AI race a sprint or is it a marathon? It's incredibly tempting to look at a temporary tech lead, say a company dropping the fastest model on a Tuesday, and assume that secures permanent global dominance. But as the data clearly shows, that is a profound misconception.
Instead of a 100-meter dash, geopolitical analysts are actually calling this the AI pentathlon. And winning a pentathlon? That requires immense stamina across a bunch of different events. It's not just a quick burst of computational speed. You have to maintain your technological edge, set the international standards, diffuse your tech globally, hardwired into your education system, and forge ironclad geopolitical alliances. You essentially have to endure and excel in all of these areas simultaneously.
Moving on to Part 2, China's Strategic Master Plan.
Keeping that pentathlon framework in mind, let's objectively look at how different global players are conditioning themselves, starting with China. Translated policy documents, specifically spin-offs from their 14th five-year plan, reveal a timeline that extends way past immediate software releases. They are laying incredibly deep roots. Just look at this timeline. Back in 2021, they launched comprehensive plans for big data and standards. They have concrete targets for data accessibility by 2025, massive AI integration goals for 2030, and long-range objectives mapped out all the way to 2035 that cover literally everything from transport to a fully formed smart education system.
What's truly staggering here is the sheer scale of the ambition. This quote comes straight from their 2026 AI plus Education Action Plan. They are actively trying to create a ubiquitous human-computer coordinated society. They aren't just teaching students how to use AI, they're aiming to build an entire education system covering all stages of schooling and society as a whole, completely around artificial intelligence by 2030.
And this strategy isn't just limited to the classroom. It's a whole-of-society endurance play aimed at total technological self-sufficiency. They're meticulously aligning their national tech standards with international ones so their companies can compete globally. They're weaving AI into traffic, shipping, and freight logistics. They're even advancing domestic biotech and germplasm resources to lock down food security. It's an incredibly comprehensive approach to making their entire societal infrastructure resilient.
Which brings us to Part 3, the Open Weight Strategy.
While those are long-term structural plans, we definitely need to understand the technical and economic tactics being used right now on the global stage. To understand how Chinese labs, like DeepSeek, are closing the capability gaps so rapidly, we have to talk about knowledge distillation. Think of it like this. You take a massively powerful, super expensive AI model, and you use it to train a smaller student model. Instead of building a dataset and running crazy expensive experiments from scratch, you're efficiently transferring the reasoning patterns and coding habits over. It's a brilliant, highly efficient way to catch up without the massive computational overhead.
So the crucial point here is the staggering economic disparity this creates. Recent data from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, shows models like DeepSeek V4 Flash costing mere cents per million tokens. Compare that to American models like Claude Opus 4.8 or GPT 5.5 Standard, which cost dramatically more. Because of distillation, efficient inference, and an open-weight approach, these Chinese models are basically acting as a low-cost economic weapon, tailor-made for rapid, widespread global adoption.
Now, if you think there's some vast capability chasm that justifies that massive price difference, think again. 8. That is the number of months separating the leading US models from top-tier Chinese open-weight models like DeepSeek V4 Pro, according to evaluations by the Center for AI Standards and Innovation. It completely debunks the idea of an unassailable, permanent US lead. The gap is incredibly narrow, and they are fiercely contesting it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the two entirely diverging global strategies we're watching play out right now. On one side, the United States leans heavily into closed, integrated products, This means higher pricing and tight control, but it creates strong enterprise lock-in and a constant loop of user feedback that makes it highly profitable. On the flip side, China's strategy is all about open-weight, dirt-cheap diffusion. The model spread like wildfire across the globe via third-party hosts, building immense prestige and de facto dependence, even though they do struggle to directly monetize or pull user data from those deployments.
All right, part 4, the transatlantic calculus.
With this aggressive open-weight diffusion happening globally, we have to look at how the West responds. A recent RAND report makes it explicitly clear. The US literally cannot win this AI pentathlon alone. But building a real strategic partnership with the European Union means navigating some serious hurdles. Interestingly, RAND notes that the heavily criticized compliance burden of the EU AI Act actually stems mostly from existing European privacy laws like GDPR. Furthermore, EU member states are justifiably skeptical about becoming totally dependent on the US. It's a natural reaction to accumulated asymmetry. And while US export controls on crucial hardware manufacturers, like the Dutch company ASML, are deemed necessary to restrict China, those exact controls threaten to squeeze the R&D revenue ASML desperately needs to build tomorrow's hardware.
Right now, U.S. private capital is heavily flowing across the Atlantic and totally reshaping EU AI infrastructure. However, the RAND report warns that these current allocation patterns actually risk restricting the broader access the alliance needs to thrive. The U.S. and EU absolutely must formally align their resources to insulate the entire AI lifecycle from short-term political and commercial volatility.
Let's move on and see how this builds into actionable steps. RAND highlights 2 specific collaborative efforts the Transatlantic Alliance needs to pursue right now. First, an immediate focus on evaluation, testing, and making sure their standards are fully interoperable. And second, they have to jointly secure the lithography supply chain, the wildly complex process of making these advanced chips, ensuring it stays resilient across all potential AI futures.
Finally, Part 5, Winning the Long Game.
Look, having strategies and alliances is one thing, but maintaining them requires tremendous endurance. According to analysis from CSIS, for the US to win this long game, it has to convince the rest of the world to build on its infrastructure. They recommend 3 big steps. Step 1, export the full American AI stack. Not just the models, but the hardware, the data pipelines, the cybersecurity, the whole shebang. Step 2, adjust pricing structures. You simply cannot compete with pennies-on-the-dollar open-weight alternatives without offering much more cost-effective options. And step 3, which is absolutely crucial, build unwavering global trust as a reliable technology provider. Because here's the reality, trust is incredibly fragile. Take this specific anecdote highlighted by CSIS. The sudden U.S. government suspension of foreign access to Anthropic's Fable and Mythos models served as a glaring signal of unreliability to international partners. When you cut off access abruptly for political reasons, you push foreign users straight into the arms of sovereign models or those cheap Chinese open-weight alternatives we talked about. Short-term political actions can severely damage long-term strategic adoption.
Ultimately, as discussions on the civic platform Society Speaks point out, running this pentathlon means accepting reality. Accumulating the actual net benefits of AI takes time. It's not overnight magic. Furthermore, deep integration of this tech guarantees persistent societal disruption in jobs, in schools, in daily life. Because of that, endurance, adaptability, and true resilience become the ultimate strategic advantages in this geopolitical marathon.
Which leaves us with this one vital question to consider. Is our society resilient enough to endure the persistent disruptions of the global AI pentathlon? Because winning isn't just about who writes the best code today. It's about whose society has the stamina to weather the profound transformations of tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the big questions, and I'll catch you next time.